Are you happy
but
that white people founded America?
am I happy that well, I'm certainly not happy about what happened. I'm not happy about the history. I'm not happy about the genocides. I mean, I think all that is very, very sad.
Are you happy that white people founded and created the greatest country on this side of heaven called America?
I'm not happy on how it unfolded.
White people didn't found and create the greatest country?
No, people were here first.
You don't
they
think
didn't find. You can't find something if someone was here first.
Are you proud that the white people who came founded
I'm not
and
proud of how it
created-
happened. No, of course
I didn't
not.
ask anything about how it happened. I want to know,
Then I guess
are you
no,
proud
because
that the white people who came here founded and created the greatest country on this side of heaven?
Well, I think that is a very broad question, and I think it's a bit, unfairly framed. I'm not proud of how this country
I didn't ask
came
you
to
that,
be.
though. I asked, are you proud that the white people founded and created the greatest country?
They didn't find it, first of all.
Who
and
found
as
it?
far as how the
So white people didn't discover America?
No.
Who discovered it?
There were people here first.
Who?
The Native Americans were here first.
But did they establish America?
They created what we know as America, certainly. The settlers that came here.
The white ones?
Yes.
Are you proud of that?
No, I'm not proud of the way it happened. Of course
Amazing.
not. I'm not.
Are you a Christian?
I am not.
Are you Jewish?
I am not. I
Are
don't
you
identify
atheist?
as. So, I always like to say this, Jesse. I'm either an atheist or an agnostic, depending on what part of the country I'm in and how often people are armed. Here's what I mean by that. If by atheist, some people define atheist as just somebody who just doesn't have a God in their life. They just don't really acknowledge one. By that definition, I would be an atheist. I don't really have a God in my life. Other people define atheist as someone who says, well, I believe and I know there's nothing out there.
Right.
Well, that's not me. I don't know. I'm part of the church of I don't know, and neither does anyone else, so let's just try to be nice.
So there may be a guy, you just don't know.
Yeah, there might be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do think, and I don't know if you want to call this spiritual or how you want to label it, but I do think there's something out there that is certainly beyond us. I don't know what that is. Is it a supreme being? Maybe. Is it a God? Maybe. I don't think it's a lot of the man-made God you hear about a lot.
Right.
But I do think there is likely something out there, and there's some things I subscribe to. I do believe in cause and effect. You kind of, if you try to put good out in the world, you'll get good back. If you put bad out in the world, you'll get bad back. There's actually some science that kind of backs that up. Cause and effect. So. I just try to live a good life, but I don't identify with any religion.
Are you a good person?
I hope so. I really try.
And what do you think? You are good or you're not?
I like to think I am good, yes.
And what's good about you?
Well, I try to be a good family member to my family.
You married?
I'm not married. I am engaged.
Oh,
yeah.
When you say your family,
you're not going to say congratulations.
Yeah,
No.
congratulations, man.
I'm kidding.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
right about that.
I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
When is the wedding date?
It's going to be next year.
Right on.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, let me know. I'll be there.
Cheers, buddy.
Are you going to have a truckload of white babies?
Well, I don't know if we want to have children, but
Are you married a white woman?
I am.
And why wouldn't you want to have white babies? Because white people are becoming minority now. And that's not good.
I don't know if I want to have children at all.
Well,
so
why get married
it
then?
certainly has nothing to do with that. And whether I do or don't have children, it's certainly not going to be because of, because of some demographic. It would be because I wanted to, populate the planet and be a father. And I don't know if that's for me or not yet, Jesse.
So why are you getting married?
Why am I getting married? Well, because I'm in love with a wonderful person, and I want to have that bond with her.
Does she know you don't want to have children?
Oh yeah, we've talked about it, Jesse. No, she's going to find out when she sees this.
I know.
Just try to keep this under wraps. No, we've talked about
And
it.
she feels the same way?
Yeah, we're not totally no. We're kind of leaning towards no.
I would highly recommend you have a truckload of white babies, because if you don't, the colored people are going to put you back in chain.
I just don't agree with the premise you say that I should have a trunk load of white babies.
A truckload,
Furthermore,
not
a
a
truckload.
trunk. Yeah, a truck.
Sorry. Okay.
More than just a trunk.
I don't think that would fly with my fiance either. I'd be like, hey, we got to change of plans. Jesse said so. Truckload white babies. We got to do it.
I bet
don't know if
she'd
she'd be
do
like,
it then.
that's not very romantic. I think that's what she'll say.
I guarantee you,
She's like,
she'd say,
"That's
you
not-"
know what, Jesse's right. Come on, honey, let's start this now.
You know what? I'll run it by her and I'll see what she says.
I want to ask you about the attack on Christianity. You know that Christians are under attack, right?
What do you mean by that?
They are the most they are hated because they love America, they love what's right, they believe in freedom of speech, they believe in the Second Amendment, they believe in letting people do what they want, but just don't impose on them. And for that, they are under attack. They are proud Americans. Have you noticed that they are under attack for those things, right?
I have not in this country. I mean, worldwide, there's a lot of persecution against those who identify as Christians and Christians. There's a lot of that worldwide. Well, I mean,
in this
I'm
country
against.
too.
Well, I mean, you're talking about two very different things, I think. I mean, in this country, you know, Christianity is still the largest religion by a lot.
Thank God.
And I think, well, that's your opinion. I think, and I'm against, you know, just because I don't identify as a Christian or anything else doesn't mean I'm for any type of religious persecution. I don't think anybody should be persecuted for their religion. I think people should have the freedom to practice what they want to practice. They just can't really infringe on anyone else's life. That's it.
But
I think
the Christians are not infringing on other people's life.
Well, I think in a lot of ways they do.
They're too weak to do that. I wish they did. Now their lives are being
I disagree with
infringed
that.
upon.
I disagree with that. I mean, there's just, I mean, where was it? I think it was in Maryland recently. They're allowing some large cross on government property, and they're funding it, and they're fine with that. You know, the Mormon Church infringed on property. Well,
you agree that we're a Christian nation, right?
No, I don't. Well, I think in practice we behave like a Christian theocracy a lot of the time, but I disagree.
Values.
That's not true.
Well, we built upon Islam.
We were not built upon religion.
We were.
No, we were not. I mean, a lot of the early.
Why do you think in the White House they have that? I mean, in the White House they have the prayer where they used to have it. They have things that.
Do you believe in a separation of church and state?
No.
See, I do.
Because look what happens when they separate. Then the radical homosexuals and all these evil people are taking over as they remove God. Evil come out of hell and take over. I'm not for that.
Well, I don't think that's what happens. I think we're much better off with a secular society and a secular government. We should have a separation of church and state. People should be able to practice whatever they want, and they should have the freedom to do that. They shouldn't be persecuted, but nobody has a right to impose their religious beliefs on anyone else.
But so then what do you think about the homosexuals, the radical homosexuals, who are trying to make the Christian bakers make gay cakes?
Gay cakes? I think that's not really what's going on, first of all. And second of all, I have no problem with homosexuals. I have a lot of gay friends. I have a lot of, I have gay people in my family, and you know, I'm all about inclusion and coming from a place of love, not a place of fear or hate. Don't you agree with that?
You shouldn't hate them, but not accept it as right. Don't accept the abnormal.
Who's to say what's right or wrong?
Don't accept the abnormal as a norm, but don't hate them for being abnormal.
But who's to say what's normal? Who's to say what's right? Who's to say what's wrong? I mean, you said when we were talking guns, you were like, who has the right to tell me what I can or can't do with my gun? Those were your words.
Right.
But okay, well, we'll apply that logic to sexuality. Who is anyone else to say what's right or what's wrong?
Well, common sense dictates what's right and what's wrong.
How so?
Come on, black people, not all but most, they hate white people, they hate America, they hate God, and they're trying to destroy the statues and anything that white America did to create and make America great again. Do you think that black people should be destroying the statues of the founding fathers and the ones who
I don't think anybody's doing that. Black
you don't
people
know that they're
otherwise.
destroying the statues?
No, I haven't heard about that. What statues?
So you know nothing. They're not going on college campuses and around the country trying to destroy the statues.
All right. Am I fluent in any statue destruction going on throughout the country in recent history? I mean, I can't say I know every single, for instance, but you know, stuff like that happens. I certainly do not.
So let me ask you once again, are you aware that the blacks are going around trying to destroy the statues and monuments?
What are you referring to specifically? I mean, you're speaking so broad. Like what?
The founders of this great country, the founders of this country, the soldiers and people who...
Well, first of all, no one found... There were a lot of people here first, by the way, when we got here.
But they were smoking pot. You talking about the Indians?
Were they?
Are
The
you
Native
talking about the
Americans is
Indians?
who I'm talking about.
They were smoking pot. It wasn't American.
Were they smoking pot? They might have been because you know
They
where
were
pot,
high as a kite.
Jesse, do
They
you
couldn't
know
do
where
nothing.
pot comes from?
Yeah.
Pot comes from China, and it was originally just an ingredient used
But
in food.
I want to go back to the fact that the
It was
blacks.
just something we used in food. It's a plant, Jesse. Do you like it?
Do you love the blacks? No, I don't smoke pot. I have smoked pot, but
You should try it.
they were
again.
smoking something stronger than pot. They were smoking like peyote or something like that. And
Oh,
that give
peyote?
you-
Or
yeah,
I
they
think that's
were,
how you say it.
They were having hallucinations and things like that.
Maybe.
They thought they were somewhere that they were not.
I wasn't around back then. I can't really speak to what experiences they were having.
Are you happy
but
that white people founded America?
Am I happy that white? Well, I'm certainly not happy about what happened. I'm not happy about the history. I'm not happy about the genocides. I mean, I think all that is very, very sad.
Are you happy that white people founded and created the greatest country on this side of heaven called America?
I'm not happy on how it unfolded. I live in the United States. It's where I was born. It's what I know. There's a lot of terrible things that have happened in this country. There's a lot of terrible things that were done in this country. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful things that have happened in this country culturally. I mean, and you want to talk about black people's contribution to this country. So much of the culture I love. I love dearly.
I want to go back to the
is
question.
rooted from black people. Like the blues.
Happy?
Do you like the blues? Rock and roll music.
I want to go back. Are you
right,
happy that white people founded and created the greatest country on this side of heaven?
Well, I disagree with that premise.
White people didn't found and create the greatest
No,
country?
people were here first.
You don't
they
think
didn't find.
America-
You can't find something if someone was here first. So they didn't
Did
find
they
it.
create America?
They didn't find it.
The Indians that was here.
They were.
Did they
come on, why do you
create
got, they were here.
Did
Jesse.
they create
What do you mean that they
America?
were here? They were physically there.
Did they create America?
Did they create America? Well, yeah. I mean, eventually they did through
Did
genocide
they
and war.
create America?
Through genocide and war, sure.
So the Indians founded and created America.
No. The white people that came,
And are
they
you-
ended up creating what we know
are
as
you-
America through genocide.
Are you proud that the white people who came founded
I'm not
and
proud of how it
created-
happened. No, of
I
course
didn't
not.
ask anything about how it happened. I want to know,
Then I
are
guess
you
no,
proud
because
that the
I-
white people who came here founded and created the greatest country on this side of heaven?
Well, I think that is a very broad question, and I think it's a bit, unfairly framed. I'm not proud of how this country
I didn't ask
came
you
to
that,
be.
though. I asked, are you proud that the white people founded and created the greatest country?
They didn't find it, first of all.
Who
And
found
as
it?
far as how the...
So white people didn't discover America?
No.
Who discovered it?
There were people here first.
Who?
The Native Americans were here first.
But did they establish America?
They created what we know as America, certainly. The settlers that came here.
The white ones?
Yes.
Are you proud of that?
No, I'm not proud of the way it happened. Of course
Amazing.
not. I'm not proud of...
What's wrong
Are
with
you
you?
proud of genocide?
What is
Why would
wrong
you be
with
proud
you?
of that?
I want to
To not
ask.
be proud of genocide?
I wanna
Would
go
you-
back to
I'm
the-
not proud of that.
So you say you love black people, right?
Of course, I love all people.
Do you love them enough to be honest with them about being wrong?
Oh, come on. What is an entire group of people wrong about? You're generalizing an entire
Not
group
all,
of people.
not
So
all,
tell me
not all,
what-
but
what-
most.
So why do you
love
generalize
them
like that,
enough
then?
to be honest with them about being wrong?
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like if I had like a black friend of mine wrongs me in some way, would I say something? Of course I would.
How about black people?
But that you're overgeneralizing. What does that question even mean?
They under the false illusion that racism exists,
Now you're generalizing
and that's
again.
why they're in a fallen state.
You're
Do you
generalizing
believe that
again.
black people are in a fallen state because of this idea of
I
racism?
do not agree with this premise.
You don't agree with them on
I
that?
do not agree with this premise.
With black people.
Keep me on my toes, Jesse. I don't agree with this premise.
Do you
I'm sorry,
agree
I
with
don't.
black people that, not all but most, that they are suffering due to this idea of racism?
Well, I think racism is very real, and
So-
I think it comes in many different
So do you
forms.
agree with black people that they are suffering due to the idea of racism?
Certainly.
So you think white people are deliberately keeping black people down because they're black?
I think some are. I hope that not all are, but yeah,
Do you
racism is
know
very real.
any
There's a
white
lot of
peop-
bigotry. There's a lot of hatred
Do
in this
you
country.
know any white people who are keeping black people down because they are black?
I know a lot of white people. Well, not a ton, but I certainly have been exposed to white people who are racist. Yeah.
Do you know any white people who are keeping black people down because they are black?
Certainly.
Who?
Who specifically?
Uh-huh.
I don't really have specifics for you, but
Because you don't know any.
I know that racism and bigotry as an institution keeps other people down. It oppresses groups of people.
What do you mean as an institution?
As an institution.
And who?
When it's
where is
institutionalized.
that institution?
Well, you see it in law enforcement. You see it, you see it in our communities. You see it via
How are they
environmental
keeping them
racism.
down in your community?
How are they keeping who down?
Black people down in your community. You
Black
say you
people
see it in your
specifically.
community. How are the white people keeping black people down in your community?
Well, there's many forms of environmental racism. Is it going on in my neighborhood specifically? I can't think of anything super specific off the top of my head, but I mean,
Is it
you see
possible
things.
that it's
You see
happening
things.
in
I
your
mean, we
neighborhood?
live in the Los Angeles area. You see things like.
Is it possible that it's happening in your neighborhood?
Of course.
So there
Of
could be some
course.
white people in your neighborhood keeping the blacks down simply because they're black.
Absolutely. I mean, there was, for instance, a police brutality that happened in my neighborhood not too long ago,
But
where
did the
a
police
man was
live in
just
your
following.
neighborhood?
What?
Did that police live in your neighborhood?
Yes, the officer did, who was not punished,
And he did it
and
because
should have
he
been.
hated black people.
The guy was doing nothing wrong. They suspected him because of his car and the tint on his windows. He wasn't who they were looking for. He cooperated. He participated. He demanded to know why they were holding him, and they beat him up for no reason. That's institutional racism,
Amazing.
and it's wrong.
Amazing. And you believe that?
Yes, I
So
certainly
should
do.
the blacks be trying to destroy the statues and monuments of white people who built the country?
You know, I'm more, I don't know specifically what you're referring to here, but I'll say
How about
this.
Black Lives Matter
I
and
care-
all the people who are worse than the KKK?
I'm for Black
They're
Lives
going
Matter.
around destroying statues and monuments of this great country.
You know,
Is
I
that
will s-
right for them to do that?
I will say this, I care a lot more about humans and people than I care about statues.
Is that
A
right
lot
for
more.
them to be
I
destroying the
don't know
statues?
specifically what you're referring to. If you're saying is protesting wrong, of course not. I think protesting is what we ought to be doing right now.
What's wrong with most black people? Why are they, other than institutional,
I don't think there's anything wrong with
other
most
than
black
institutional
people.
racism, is there anything that they're doing wrong?
Again, that's such a generalization. Like, how can anybody even speak to a question framed that way?
White people are under attack, especially the white male. Would you agree to that?
No. I feel fine right now.
You don't think that white males are under attack?
No, sir.
They're called white supremacists when they disagree and stand
Well,
up for
there
themselves.
are white supremacists out
You
there.
think white males are white supremacists?
No, but I think some are.
Who?
Those who identify as such. There are
Like
people
who?
who identify.
Antifa?
Members of the KKK.
How about Antifa?
No, I don't think so.
Antifa,
I don't
white,
know
they're
everybody in
predominantly
Antifa.
white. They're very violent. They're cowards. They hide their faces. They
So does the
attack,
KKK.
They attack.
The
so,
KKK hides
So
their faces.
Antifa and the KKK are the same.
No, not at all.
They're like each other.
But they both have. They
They
have
represent the
faces.
same thing.
They do not represent the same thing, and they are very different.
So Antifa attack decent white men and women who are out protesting, stand up for the country. Are they white supremacy, Antifa?
No.
Why not?
I do not believe that Antifa operates
Are
under that.
they-
Now, Antifa is a very broad umbrella.
Why do they cover their faces?
Why does the KKK cover their faces?
No, we're talking about Antifa.
Well,
If
you
they
brought
have
the
nothing
KKK
to
into it, too.
hide, why do they cover their faces?
I'm not a member of Antifa. I don't know. But why does the KKK cover their
Well,
faces?
We are
Do you
not
have the
talking
answer to
about
that?
the KKK.
Why
But
does anybody cover their face?
Is Antifa a violent group or non-violent group?
I think it's a very broad group. So to generalize them
They're
one way or another,
broads? Did you say they're broads?
no, that's not what I said. I said it's a very broad group. It's a
But
very
they
wide
carry
umbrella.
weapons, they attack, they impose themselves on other people, parades, and they attack with violence, they hide their faces. Is it good to be violent like that?
It is not good to be violent like
So
that. no
why do
matter
you
who it
support
is.
them for doing that?
I'm not supporting anybody.
Should they be labeled a terrorist group?
No, I do not believe they should be labeled a
If
terrorist
normal white people were doing that to them, would you want them to be labeled a terrorist group?
group. If normal white
The
people
so-called
be
white
violent
supremacists,
to
the whites that you
Antifa.
call white supremacists, if they attack Antifa in the same manner that Antifa attacked them, should they be labeled
Well,
a terrorist group?
I'm against violence in general.
But should
as far
they be labeled a terrorist group?
By they, who do you mean?
Normal white men and women who are standing up for America.
Normal white men and
If
women
they
who are
did it the
standing
way
up
that
for America.
Antifa is doing it, should they be labeled
I think
a
someone
terrorist
should be
group?
labeled a terrorist group. I mean, if you're saying, do I think a random selection of men and women should be labeled a terrorist group? Well, of course the answer to that question is no.
I
That
know
question
that
doesn't
I'm
make any
black and
sense.
slow, so you might not understand. if normal white people who stands for America go out and have a rally, and they should carry out that rally in the same manner that Antifa is doing it, should they be labeled a terrorist group?
But Antifa wasn't carrying out any
Should
rallies.
they be labeled, if they would, whatever you want to call it, you can call it love, should they be labeled, if they acted the same way as Antifa does, should they be labeled a terrorist group?
No. Again, a random select. Your question was, if a random group of men and women came together to rally for America, should they be labeled a terrorist group? Someone should be labeled a terrorist group if they are coming from a place of hate. If someone is coming from a place of hate and their goal is to terrorize another group of people, they should be labeled a terrorist group.
So Antifa
like
should
the
be
KKK should be labeled a terrorist
and
group.
Antifa then, right?
No.
They do the same thing.
No, that's not what Antifa is about.
Are you for, you said they're not for that.
No.
Do they go out and attack people with guns, not guns, but rocks and bricks and
violence
sticks
has certainly happened on like in various capacities, and I'm not for that. But to generalize that group as a group that is trying to promote violence or hatred against another group of people, that's not what they're doing.
Are they showing them love?
I think in some ways, yes.
So by attacking them uninvitedly with weapons and things like that, is showing love?
Well, Jesse, you know as well as I do.
Is that showing love?
What happens in these...
I'm asking you, is that showing love?
Well, of course, violence is not showing love.
So is Antifa showing love?
You know that what happens...
No. Is Antifa showing love?
They are in many
by
ways,
attacking
yes.
in that manner, they're showing love.
I mean, hey, when Cornell West...
beat up a
when
journalist.
Dr. Cornell West said that Antifa saved his life, I think that he was probably being shown some love there.
Andy Noel, when they attacked him violently, just really attacked him, were they showing love to Andy?
Well, in that particular moment, of course not. But there was violence. There was violence going on in both sides, and we both know that.
Was that violent from Antifa for all of them to attack this one man in the violent way that they did? Was Antifa showing love or violence?
I know the situation you're talking about. I don't know the full anatomy
of everything
that went on there.
My point.
Of course not.
Were they showing violence?
Yes, but violence.
And was that wrong?
At these protests,
was
violence
that wrong?
Of course, violence is wrong.
Was Antifa wrong for showing him violence?
I do not know the full scope of what happened there.
Now,
there's a big difference. Wait. Hold on. You got to be fair here. Violence, there's a difference between violence and self-defense. Now, as far as that particular, for instance, I'm not fluent in everything that went on there because I'm not a big fan. I don't
want to be honest about it.
I am being honest. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not projecting anything I don't know.
Were they demonstrating violence or love?
Come on. That's not fair.
What's not fair?
I will say there's a difference between self-defense and violence, and that's speaking generally at all of these protests. Violence happens at it. I'm not for it. I don't like it. I think it's a very sad reflection of what's going on in our society.
But why are you afraid to say that Antifa is a violent group and that with Andy Noel?
Because I think that's an unfair overgeneralization.
Are you afraid to say that when they attack Andy Noel?
I think to say Antifa is a violent group is an overgeneralization.
When they attack Andy Noel.
And an unfair assumption to make. Meanwhile, neo-Nazis and KKK, those are groups that are coming from a place of hate. Their entire thesis is based upon hatred for other groups of people.
But how can you freely say that about them but not
because
Antifa?
It's true. Because they.
But it's not true about Antifa?
No, it's not.
Wow.
It's true.
You smoke pot?
Of course.
You smoke pot?
Of course.
Do you smoke pot? Really?
How many times? Yes.
Well, no wonder.